Hello, MLB Pro family. My name is Scott Gesser. I'm your Oakland Athletics General Manager, and today I'm with the Anonymous GM. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. As we were talking off air there a minute ago, I'm anxious for baseball, and I know you are too. And I'm glad to be here with you to be able to talk a little MLB Pro because it's been far too long, and it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's very nice to be back. And this is something that Jim started from Detroit, started last year, and I didn't want to see it go by the wayside because he couldn't do it. So I decided to give it a shot and see how it goes.
Harper's back to what the old days of the off-season Secret Santa. That was way back when, and then as you pointed out, we had Brenton and I did it a few seasons ago. Jim took over last year, so it's the transition and your ability to keep it going. It's much appreciated, and I look forward to not only joining you but listening to what everyone else has to say about their teams here over the next few weeks, next month, as we head towards opening day late March, early April. When is opening day this
Yeah, late March, like the end
year? Late
of March,
March.
I believe. So, and maybe later on we can do another joint chat where I've had some teams that wanted to answer the questions but didn't have time to podcast, and maybe you and I can fill some time and talk about some of those teams.
Definitely.
Good. So let's look back at 2022, the season, and how do you think it went overall, and some of the major things that might have happened.
I thought it was another interesting season in MLB Pro. I think we saw some traditionally successful franchises continue to have success, whether it be the recent run in Arizona. St. Louis returned to the top of the NL Central. The Braves, fantastic start to the year before their kind of downfall late in the year. We saw the Blue Jays, another 90-win season. The Twins, I've lost track of how many division titles in the Central there for Minnesota and Rocky. Then the AL West was the Angels, the Mariners, and the Astros all making the playoffs again. So there was a lot of same old, but I think there was some also new blood. We saw the Phillies make the playoffs and win the division. We saw the Orioles. A couple years ago, it was Andy, then a fall off, and now Drew was able to get them back up there. We saw Detroit, long playoff pursuit, fall just short. What else am I meant? Colorado, the departure of Eddie and Carson stepping in and guiding them to 89 wins in a playoff berth. There were Cincinnati 84 wins. There was a lot of the same, but there was also some new fresh blood rising up the standings. So I think it was a good year across the board in MLB Pro last year.
Good. So, like you mentioned, Detroit, Cincinnati, we had a couple surprise teams last year. Who might you be looking at to make that jump this year, especially with the difference in the scheduling moving forward?
A team that they're still early, I think, to figure out what rookies and what shakes out lineup wise, injury wise. But one team in a division last year, it was Detroit. Detroit and Jim felt really good about where they stood. My eyes are in the division, but I think they're on Kansas City a little bit this year.
That's been a popular choice so far.
The addition of Mark Baker is a big deal. Pat Crosby, nothing special, but okay, you add him in. You didn't lose anything. And there's some good young pitchers in Kansas City. Kevin Knaust joining Chris Bubik, Chris Rivers, Casey Mize is a formidable top half of a rotation. Bullpen still has Addison Reed in the back. Maybe that benefits someone like Henry Lockwood not pitching the ninth inning. He struggled at times. All last year was Cody Clemens this, Cody Clemens that, with his lack of power. Can Cody Clemens show some of what he showed in the past? And if he does with Mark Baker, you have a good 1-2, Blanchard and Lopez at the top of the lineup. There's something about that Kansas City team that I think could surprise some people.
Good. Well, let's just go division by division then. And since we're talking about the AL Central already, let's continue on with them. Can the Twins hold off Kansas City and Detroit this year and keep atop the division?
Yes. They can and they will. They still have the best pitcher in the division. Sorry, Matthew Liberatore, that still title goes to Lucas Giolito. They were able to bring back Jimmy Bannatyne. I believe they just re-signed him as a free agent a couple days ago, I think. They still have arguably the best lineup in all of baseball. When you look at Lopez, Gonzalez, Copeland, Adele, Cowart. There's just so much there that I still like. Detroit won 90 games and seemingly nothing went right. Their pitchers were hurt all the time. Chris Scalise comes over from Pittsburgh and couldn't get you or I out. The lineup was hit or miss. They had to add Cameron Maben mid-season, but there's a lot of pieces still to like there. You add Corey Seager. Or no, that's last year's. No wonder I'm struggling with this. Hold on, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Corey Seager is no longer in Detroit.
No.
But yes, I still like what Jim's doing. But Rocky to me is the favorite. Kansas City and Detroit are right there, and Chicago will be better. I think Cleveland could be better. Cleveland's got some young talented players that could see the big leagues, I think, this year, whether that be Grayson Rodriguez, whether that be Jazz, whether that be Evan Waxman. Davis Mills was at AAA too, had a good year. There's some pieces in Cleveland that I think are quickly approaching the big league level. So not quite as bad as they were last year.
Okay, so if you had to pick just an order in a division, I know it's way early. I know preseason just rolled over. If you had to pick something right now, just the order, I don't care about how many games they're going to win. How would you see that division stacking up?
Minnesota 1, Cleveland 5, Chicago 4. And I'm not going to tell you 2 or 3 because I don't want to hear from Jim either way.
Well, or Chappie, Rob will give you something too.
I think they're both talented teams that are going to finish within 3 or 4 games of each other. I don't know who's going to.
Do you think one of them can reach the playoffs as a wild card?
That's a good question. I mean they'll be in the one or both of them will certainly be in the race.
Okay, well, let's turn our attention to the AL East. They were a pretty big logjam last year for a while. And how do you see that playing out this year? I mean, who do you see as the favorite there?
The favorite heading into the season, I would, as of today, I'm going to say the Toronto Blue Jays. Like Detroit, there was a lot that went wrong in Toronto last year when it came to the health of relief pitchers. A lot went wrong. Baltimore, a lot went right. Evan Longoria is a year older, off of an MVP level season, Gold Glove season, did everything that they wanted when they signed him. Can he do that again a year older? They've done nothing so far this offseason, but they also have lots of, like Cleveland, Baltimore is still loaded with talent. As much as we hear from Drew about losing talent in the Rule 5 draft, they have a superstar in Julio Rodriguez who's basically ready. They have 2 more catchers that are ready to take over if there's any struggles behind the plate. Grant Gunnell, Brian Leach in the outfield. This team is loaded with young talent. But I think that young talent needs that centerpiece that Evan Longoria was last year. And I'm a little concerned about Longoria's age. Whereas Toronto's getting up there too. Pardo's a year younger, but still the core's back. Nash, Wilcox, Pardo, Stanton, Winston, Franco, Cutler, Brunell, and Sizey. It's the same team that the 190 plus games last year, just with, I think, a bullpen that's not going to be spending as much time on the injured list this year as it did last year. And let's not forget, they added Clayton Kershaw late last year. A full season of Kershaw at the top of a rotation that could go 60. So there's a lot to like still in Toronto. So I'm going to give the slight edge to Toronto as of today.
Okay, so who might surprise you from the East this year? I mean, can Tampa Bay or Boston sneak into the race at some point?
Well, let's start with this. It's not going to be the Yankees. Sorry, Rhett. You might win 60 plus games. They're going to be better. They're going to be better, but they're not going to surprise anyone and win 80. Then it comes down to Boston and Tampa. Boston, I think, is more eager to win this year, I think, whereas Tampa Bay is another team, loaded young talent, but has been very slow and careful with promoting players. Will Bobby Witt be given the opportunity this year? I don't know. Boston made some moves late last year, brought in a guy from your end, Ken Gary, to the back of that bullpen. But as of today, looking at this, Porter Curran is out for 8 to 9 weeks. What's his health going to be? John Larson's going to miss the season. Zach Potter's going to miss the season. There are question marks about that rotation as of today. Are Sale, Locke, and Cole enough? Probably not. But they also have the pair of Kuhn and Allen, a healthy Sailor, Sawyer, Cleveland. They could be the team that surprises people. They could.
Yeah, and Tampa Bay has who was the pitcher they have in the minors? Hughes, and Hughes,
Mm-hmm.
Raggy Schuler. So they got some good young talent. But I think we've seen over the years in MLB Pro is that they need a little taste of the big leagues before they're ready to compete. For the most part, youngsters.
I mean, pitching wasn't an issue for Tampa Bay last year. Second in team ERA, they led the American League in starters ERA, but they were 10th in team batting average. They were 9th in runs scored. It comes back to the offense. There isn't a centerpiece on that team. Maybe it's Cade Cahill. Maybe he gets back to kind of being what he used to be. O'Neill Cruz is still young. We saw Alex O'Connell burst onto the scene last year, hit 33 homers. But when you compare that to the heart of the Boston order, so it's really what's going to be better. You have Tampa Bay's offense versus the starting pitching of Boston. Whichever one of those areas can be better, that team's going to have the leg up on the other.
How big of a difference do you think Bobby Witt Jr. could make for Tampa?
When you look at that lineup, and Brady McConnell last year hit 258, had an on-base percentage of 309, slated as of today, projected a potential leadoff hitter, and then a number 9 hitter, depending on the pitcher handedness of the day. You look at someone like a Bobby Witt, who's out for 4 or 5 weeks still, by the way. Not only can he provide plus defense at premium position, contact plus power, speed, Bobby Witt can provide a lot in place of someone like Brady McConnell.
So he'll be ready, right after spring training starts. So he should be able to gear up to be ready for the regular season, I would think, in enough time.
Yeah. Another key player, someone like Bobby McDonald at AAA in Tampa Bay. 2020, played 147 games for the Pirates, hit 276, on bases 319, nearly a WAR of 3. But since then, 2021 in a half of a season in Milwaukee, hit 209. Last year in 42 games with Milwaukee, hit 219. Came over to Tampa Bay, hit 182 and 34 at bats. So since 2020, he has no idea how to hit anymore. Could Bobby McDonald be someone who regains his stroke and provides speed and defense to the bit crowded Tampa Bay outfield?
Okay, so if you had to make your prediction in the East, how would you see that division stacking up?
As of today, I would go with Toronto 1, Baltimore 2, Boston 3, Tampa 4, New York 5. Similar fashion, though, to last year, where the top 4 teams all finished above 500. I think that could be possible again this year.
Okay, so let's finish off the American League with the West. And the Angels, they took it all again. Seattle's been really good. Houston. How do you see that playing out? I know the Angels have lost some more key pieces, and so has Seattle. Does that kind of move them down a little bit and maybe Houston up a little bit? How does that look
Houston's the
for
team.
you?
Houston's the team to beat heading into the season. I think the Angels losing pieces might be a little overblown. While they've lost quality or more quantity than quality, I would say. Um, they lost five starter, a handful of starters: Steven Matz, Posey, Camaro, Rendon, Navarez. And while important pieces, no one was a centerpiece. Unlike last year, where they lost key pieces. Seattle's lost key pieces. And when you think Seattle Mariner baseball the last handful of years, it's been frontline starters that are going to dominate their opponents. And now they've lost two of their three frontline starters in Danny Holtzen and Mark Appel. And I think that's going to be very tough to overcome in the sense that their bullpen has always been a bit of an issue, and now they've lost two guys that pitched in the seventh and eighth innings most nights. And now that's going to lie on Justin Hooper every single time through to be that guy. Whereas losing Mark Baker, I don't think that it's that big of a deal. They already bring in George Springer. They already have a fantastic lineup. But Houston's the favorite in the American League West as of today, and I'm not sure it's. I think there's a sizable gap between one and then two and three.
Well, I tried as the A's tried to keep both of those Seattle pitchers in the West, and they got way too expensive for my small roster blood. So
But hey, Oakland made a splash yesterday, signing Cesar Lopez after Lopez opted out in Washington. Now a crowded infield, as we talked about, a crowded outfield in Tampa Bay, a crowded infield in Oakland, but plenty of options for you to throw out there and figure things out over the next couple of weeks. A good addition to both at the plate and in the field, Cesar Lopez.
yeah, I really wanted his defense at second base so I could move Brandon Rogers to DH and get better defensively. That was my thinking once I couldn't get the pitcher I wanted.
Yeah, make your current pitchers better with some defense. I like it.
That's right. So, um, some key pieces for Houston. Who might they be this year?
So we've talked about guys that have kind of had down years last year. One guy I expect to be better this year, I think, is Bill Black. Chicago dealt him to Houston last year, and he just never felt comfortable last year for whatever reason, despite still striking out over 10 batters per inning. He showed up in Houston, started walking over 5 per 9, well above his career average. His BABIP was at 361, which was ridiculously high. Bill Black is too good to reproduce those subpar numbers last year. And then you just again lineups. There are plenty of great lineups throughout MLB Pro, whether that be Seattle, whether that be Minnesota, Atlanta, Arizona of the past, LA in the past. But Bregman, Gonzalez, Fowler, Arredondo, Tatis, Bart, Aaron White is an all-star caliber player hitting ninth in that lineup. And then the bullpen last year, you had Mark Lopez figured things out since coming over from Detroit a couple years ago and was lights out in the ninth inning. There's just so much to like about this Houston team.
Yeah, they built from the ground up. They took time to do their rebuild, and now he's starting to see the fruits of that.
54 wins in 2017 to 70, 87, back down to 78, 94, 99. And is your point, with the schedules changing a little bit, maybe some fewer games against the Angels, Mariners, this is a 100-win club in Houston this year.
I'm not disagreeing with you there. I think that is very much accurate, and I see Houston has taken the mantle away from both the Angels and Seattle, and we may see a new American League West champion this year, and somebody might go to the World Series.
I think, yeah, Houston is every bit as capable of as any team in this league to advance deep into the playoffs. And to your point, not just those three teams, but your Oakland's going to be better, and Texas is going to be better. Texas, while Texas only won 71 games last year, there's still quality pieces in Texas. You still have a 1-2 of Caprillion and Will Jamie Widner, who are more than capable at the top of a rotation. Uh, bring in a couple years ago Jacob Realmuto. You still have Javier Rodriguez, capable of 20 homers, hit nearly 300 at first base. Arturo Moreno, he has to be better. 2 years ago, hit 281. Last year, hit 233. 21 homers down to 9. Can he be better? The left side of the infield leaves a lot to be desired between Mike Murray and Josh Gray. Jacob Skull still in the outfield, and a player who could be the favorite in the American League in terms of Rookie of the Year could come out of Texas, an outfielder Riley Green, if he earns a spot earlier in the season. Someone who could be a difference maker. To get from 71 wins closer to 80 is Riley Green.
Yeah, our division may be quite competitive in the AL West this year, with Texas getting a little bit better, Oakland getting a little bit better, and maybe the Angels and Seattle's coming back down to earth a little bit. So we will see how that plays out. But if you
it'll be an interesting division.
Yeah, if you had to predict an order right now, where would you see that?
I would have Houston 1, Seattle 2, LA 3, Oakland 4, Texas 5.
Okay. Yesterday, when I was looking at the preseason predictions, which is not showing up on my screen today, I had the Angels dropping down to 78 wins last year. Now, I don't see the Angels dropping off that much, but high 80s, low 90s, is that kind of where you might see the Angels be?
The preseason predictions, though, we have to remember take into account lineups and stuff at the beginning of the year. And I know the Angels are one of those teams that don't do anything before spring training. So let's remember that 103 wins last year. Yeah, 90. I think 90 is a reasonable number in LA. I don't think Seattle's lineup is so good. Even losing Holtzen and Appel, they're not going to lose more than they're not winning less than 90 either. I mean, I think they're both still 90 win teams. Houston wins 100. Again, it's tough to say because I mean, there's a lot to like in Oakland, but the A's won 66 games last year. Expecting 10 wins is a good season. 10 win improvement. Anytime you can win 10 more games than you won last year, it's a good improvement. That's only 70. So I don't know. I think Oakland's the fourth best team in the division with their changes. I struggle to be able to put them in the conversation with the other three.
Yeah, me too. Right now, even though that's my team, I'm hoping for 80 wins. So that's my big goal. Anything above that would be gravy. Anything below that might be a little bit of a disappointment. But
80's doable. 80's doable. That's a doable amount.
We'll see. So if you had to pick a team right now to represent the AL in the World Series, who would it be?
I've been repetitive with this a little bit, but not only is Houston the team to beat in the American League based on where they are today, they also have the most aggressive general manager of the teams that I think are going to be near the top, whether that be Matt or potentially Mitch in Toronto. We see too much that the Angels aren't going to do anything big. Seattle, we hear that they want to do things big and then they don't. Jim, I think, could be a bit more reluctant to make a big move after what Chris Scalise did since coming over. Rocky, cautious, and I would say cautious in his approach. But the caveat with Minnesota this year, I believe, let me pull this up 1 second. Gary Copeland, free agent to be. Martin Lopez, free agent to be. Mariano Gonzalez, free agent to be. So 3 key pieces. Obviously, Gary Copeland's potentially the best hitter in MLB Pro history. Martin Lopez is one of the best outfielders in MLB Pro today. This is this is the Minnesota Twins' time to win another World Series. So maybe Rocky's a bit more aggressive this season. And if he is, he can match that top 1A tier. But as of today, Minnesota's or Houston's what they have and their willingness to go out and get more. The Houston Astros win the American League in 2023.
Hey, I can totally see that. I like Houston. I like the way that Matt has built them up, and I think he will be aggressive if he thinks he can go all the way. So we've spent time looking at the American League, so let's turn it over to the National League. Let's start off in the East. Philadelphia last year maybe surprised some people. Atlanta slipping a little bit might have surprised some people also. What are how do you see that division, and who are some of the key players in that division?
So to me, the biggest surprise last year wasn't either one of those teams. I'm going to give you the third team that surprised me last year. That was the New York Mets.
Mets, yeah,
falling down to 76 wins. That was the what's going on moment to me. I love Philadelphia last year heading into the season. Another team that, frankly, didn't get enough respect with the lineup that had been built slowly in Philadelphia. And that came with Charlie Harper having to be demoted midseason because he couldn't hit. But you still had an MVP level player in Anthony Hale. Cam Gundy was a great young player. Luis Robert, you still have Comita. KJ Costello came up late in the year. They can flat out mash the ball. Now, they can't pitch to save their lives in Philadelphia. And that's going to be a concern again heading into the season. They added Markle from the Dodgers, I believe, or Kozar, one or the other. Which one was it? Markle. So Markle and Magan at the top of the rotation. Broderick Wilson bounced back a little bit. Hans Cruz, rookie last year. Can he do something? Love their eighth and ninth inning guys, O'Day and Flummer, but getting from the fifth inning to the eighth inning is a struggle in Philadelphia, and it could be again this year. Atlanta, when we look back at Atlanta last year, all I have to say, and then you can remind me of this too, they got off to a 16-11 month of April, a 20-7 month of May, and that came with firing their manager midway through that stretch, coming off of like a 10-game winning streak. Right. Forget who it was, but they decided that we need Desi Wilson back. Led the National League in pitching in basically every category. They were adequate hitting guys. They were aggressive. It was another Brenton year where, you know what, we're playing well, but we want to play great. We're going to trade a couple key pieces. Let's bring in Alec Bohm, and it didn't work out. He didn't provide with what they thought he would. We had another player in Taylor Sparks like Cody Clemens, who couldn't hit homers last year. 22 down from 43 the year before. I think there's still rumblings of whether or not he should be hitting leadoff or not. But Atlanta liked him there, at least in the past. Oyashi, good. But the story of the offseason really centers around the Atlanta Braves. What did they do? They bring in Bryce Harper. Bring him back to Atlanta. That's as bold as a team could have gotten this offseason, and Brenton was the one to do it. And is that enough to push them to the top of the division again? It'll be interesting.
And how does that hurt him in the future of being able to make a trade or a free agent, because he's right up against or over his salary cap?
Well, what's going to be interesting there, I guess, is Sparks is a free agent to be. We've seen other teams, whether that be the Angels and Mariners primarily, and I guess Arizona with Harper. Are the Braves willing to let Sparks play out the season, or will they be looking to trade him to get pieces once he's gone? Because to your point, it seems unlikely that Taylor Sparks will be in Atlanta beyond this season. Although Bryce Harper does have an opt-out after this year. So is this a one-year thing for Bryce? Is he at 31, if things don't work out, say, I'm going to go test the market again? So Atlanta's in a position where it seems like they need to win now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of teams out there might have gone, maybe I would have signed Bryce Harper if I could have got him for 20 million in 2023 with an opt out, and then big bucks later, hoping that maybe he plays great and opts out. You know, is that
I
Brenton's
forgot. I
strategy?
forgot. I forgot about that. That opt out until seeing it now in that contract. His agent needs to be fired.
Yeah, that's what I say. You know, he should have been making $40 million a year or close to it.
Yeah, he should not be making $18 million next year.
That is a steal,
So
and that's a great
uh,
job by Brenton to make that happen.
it is.
What about his pitching?
They were as good as it came in the National League last year. The only decision I think that has to be made is what do you do with Andy Otero? As great of a decision as Brenton made with Bryce Harper, we go back a season, and the addition of Andy Otero was great, except for the fact that there was a rumored mistake, or not mistake, a rumored I don't know, I have a loss of words here, where Andy Otero was brought in with I think the belief that he was going to be a relief pitcher until he showed up and reminded his manager that he was promised a spot in the rotation. And then he was kind of moved into an opener role. So what do you do with Otero, Robin? But you still have Rivera, Bueller, Aiken. Bullpen's great. Cam Jones down in the minors could be as good as it gets with a power arm. Riley Pint was great last year. Nick McCulley ended up in Atlanta last season and was great there.
And I was kind of surprised because he traded me Elward at the deadline and got back Carlson in the outfield.
Okay, yeah. I forgot about that.
He turned it around in Atlanta, Carlson, and Colby pitched pretty good for us, but we'll see how that plays out.
3, 4, 5 heading into the year again. If you compare Atlanta to just about any other team, though, Harper, Oyashi, Sparks. While some maybe get lost in what a scout tells you about a player, there's no confusing both what scouts tell you about those three players and what they produce on the field. That could be a special trio in Atlanta this year.
Yeah, so that kind of brings me to Washington. To me, Washington is kind of one of those. If things fall right, they can be competitive. If things fall, don't, then they'll be, 500 or around there.
That starts with Ed Reed. You go back to 2019, 2020, he was a promising young arm with loads and loads of talent and success. Last year was the first year his ERA was above 4. His control was at a career low. He still doesn't strike out as many batters as someone with his stuff as you might expect, only just a tick above 8 per 9 innings. Whereas a lot of the frontline starters nowadays are well above 9 or 10. They need Davies and Reith to be fantastic. Hector Santiago, losing him out of the bullpen, some concern. Bring in Donald Austin from Atlanta, who pitched at AAA. Gwinnett had a good year. Jackson Kowar, will he be a starter? Will he be a closer? I think there's questions there. And then the lineup. Ed Palmer, good year, not as good as he's been in the past. Can Matthew Grace? I've heard from numerous teams that scouts love his bat. But in 86 Major League at-bats last year, he hit sub 200. Is that getting accustomed to the big leagues, or is that scouts potentially being wrong about them? And then the outfield, I think, leaves room to be desired a little bit. We'll see. Good team. It's a good team. Step below the other two.
What about Miami? We haven't mentioned Miami yet in all this conversation.
Where is Miami? A year ago, it was building around Wander Franco and Ronald Acuna. Then you came calling. Was it at the deadline?
Yeah, right around the deadline.
you came calling and you traded Shane Baz and some other pieces and took Wander Franco. So a shift in philosophy in Miami on what they were building around. Still have Acuna, but now they maybe have a frontline starter in Shane Baz. Dane Greer's still there. Bullpen's still been good. Brandon Klein still around. Michael Roman's still around. So eighth, ninth inning, still good in Miami, but can they hit? It's just there's not much in that lineup beyond Ronald Acuna that scare anyone. I think that's maybe fair to say.
So where do you think Miami is with Acuna? Do you think they just one person's opinion? Do you think they should trade him off and get more prospects, or
No,
should they build around him?
no, he's under control 3 more years. No, not at this point. I would not move. I wouldn't. I no, I wouldn't even consider it. I don't. I mean, I don't know why they. We're not here to pick apart what Josh decided to do last July, but I would just say it was surprising what they did last July. Just surprising is the right word. Uh, but you can't. What Houston did a couple years ago, tearing everything down and building from the absolute bottom, takes time, uh, patience, and a plan. And I don't know if Miami has a plan yet, but I don't know if trading Ronald Acuna is the start of that plan either. Trying to look up who their top. They don't have any guys that are immediate. I mean, I'm at a loss of where the Marlins are today. Honestly, it's not an easy task where Miami is in a division that has three quality teams. It's a team with the Mets budget behind their back. Miami's not an easy place to win it. You trade Ronald Acuna, and it's going to be. I mean, you keep trading Ronald Acuna to get a piece of Ronald Acuna's talent back is hard, if not impossible. Yes. And for someone who's still 25 years old, team control for 3 more years. Ronald Acuna is going to have a lot of value 2 years from now still. I wouldn't. I personally would not trade Ronald Acuna.
Right, so
but to your point, people will call about Ronald Acuna, and the number of teams that call and will be aggressive will be long. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's traded. I just would not trade him.
Right. Okay. So let's wrap up the East. How do you see that division playing out this year?
If the Braves are willing to ride out any struggles early and not fire and or trade pieces come April and May, the Braves win the division. The Phillies finish second. The Nationals finish third. The Mets same standings. So flip 1 and 2. Braves 1, Phillies 2, Nationals 3, Mets 4, Miami 5.
All right, so let's move on to my second favorite division, the NL Central, where I used to be before I came over to the A's. There's some teams that are good and a couple teams that are going to be good in the near future.
There are, and there's a giant question mark at the top of the division too. I still really like the St. Louis Cardinal makeup, but like some of these other teams, whether it be Baltimore, whether it be LA, whether it be Minnesota, whether it be Arizona to a degree, there really haven't been any moves. St. Louis has done nothing.
Pittsburgh's been the most aggressive.
Well, yeah, they were very aggressive the other day. Very, very aggressive. And there's so I don't know about St. Louis at the top of the division, but yeah, Cincinnati, great young pieces. Tremendous stride last year. Not Baltimore, Milwaukee a couple years ago took a big leap. Last year, I'd say, was a bit of a disappointment for Cole.
Yeah.
Thinking that they would have been better than the 85 win team they were coming off 93 wins the year prior, with a better team batting average, but the defense got a little worse. BABIP up 25 points, and it led to team ERA that was nearly half a run higher last year than it was the year before. Can that bounce back? The Cubs, the Cubs are that team that have players but not a team. I think.
Right. Yeah.
I still don't know if Ryan Copeland and Madison Bumgarner what they're doing at the top of that rotation. But you still have the likes of Alvarez and Jimenez in the middle of the lineup. Earl James. There's some pieces. You bring in Byron Buxton, and then in Pittsburgh, you add Mark Appel the other day. Can
Kind
Mark
of a
Appel
bold move
have,
from a team that says they're not ready to compete until next year.
so Mark Appel got $30 million, 170 over 6, and what turned out to be a bidding war between the Pirates and the A's, just as everyone predicted. The question becomes, Appel he had so much room for error in Seattle. Every game, he basically knew with the lineup behind me, I'm going to win a game because I'm going to outscore the opponent. And don't get me wrong, he was great. His ERA was 3.26. He was fantastic. And this is coming off of his arm injury a season or two ago. So Mark Appel, fantastic. But his K rate's gone down 3 straight seasons. Is that a concern? Is it a concern that he's not going to have the same lineup behind him in Pittsburgh that he had in Seattle? We've seen other players in the past move from winning teams to somewhat rebuilding teams and struggle a little bit. Whether that be Clayton Kershaw in the past is the one that comes to mind, and I'm sure there are others. Which Mark Appel does Pittsburgh get? I think he's going to be good, but $30 million pitching every 5th day.
Yeah, when it got up there for me, from my standpoint, was I know he did okay in his righty-lefty splits the last couple of years, but it kind of scares me when you see the dip off in his stuff between the versus right versus left. There's a 10-point difference. Righties 70, lefties 60. So to me, I started thinking, would people stack their lineups with lefties, and would that hurt them?
Half they run better at home in Seattle at Safeco or whatever Seattle's ballpark's called these days than he was on the road. Under sub 3 at home, 3.5 on the road. Striking out 9.5 at home, just over 7 on the road. You add all this up together, I don't know what to. And the other thing, he's 30, nearly 32, 31
32.
and a half as of today.
Yeah.
He'll be 32 mid-season. It's a lot of money for a guy on a team that will be better, but isn't going to win this year. So you're can he be the team leader that you're expecting? Can he eat the innings that then help your 2 through 5 pitchers be better? Can he keep your bullpen fresher? I think that's what they're hoping from Mark Appel, not necessarily a guy who's going to go out there and win the Cy Young, I think.
Right. How about he's an interesting team?
Sorry, I lost you there. Who's the interesting team?
Oh, Cincinnati.
Cincinnati's a very interesting team. And they've brought in some pieces. Buster Posey's now at first base. He proved he can still play last year with the Angels. You still have Rafael Castillo, now full-time DH, so they don't have to worry about his defense in the outfield. Moving him to DH allows Brandon Solomani to be a full-time player. Good rookie year, hit 250, 18 homers in 104 games. Josh Lowe burst onto the scene last year as a rookie, 31 homers. You have a young center of the infield in Nolan Jones, Royce Lewis. Good catcher, Ernesto Pena. And some frontline starters. I'm concerned about Jordan Lyles. I'm concerned about how many pitches they let him throw last year and how that impacts his arm health this year. He was throwing 120 pitches seemingly every start last year. I don't believe that can continue this year. Uh, but Nate Pearson, Hunter Green, Cole Wilcox, Cole Thompson, they got plenty of options in the rotation. Do they have enough in the bullpen? That's where the season in Cincinnati will be decided. The Cincinnati bullpen.
Hey, so how do you see the division stacking up this year?
So I think we're going to see some changes here. I'm going to say I haven't studied the Central a ton, so I'm going to quickly give this a very quick look. I will say as of today that the Milwaukee Brewers win the Central. The Cincinnati Reds finish second. The St. Louis Cardinals finish third. And I don't know. Higher. I don't know on 4 and 5, but I'm going to go with Milwaukee 1, Cincy 2, St. Louis 3.
All right, so now let's move on to the West, which is probably the most exciting division outside. Both West divisions are going to be very exciting. You still think Arizona is the team to beat in the West and the National League?
No, I don't. Well, no, I don't. I think the Dodgers are the team to beat heading into the season. Although now that I say that, I realize that by adding Holton, that also came with the loss of Markle and Kozar. But I think the addition of Holton offsets both of that, and I think losing Bryce Harper is a big deal. It really is. Now, does Arizona have a fantastic lineup still? Yeah, you still have Jeremy Scott, you still have Juan Marine, you still have Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Ohtani.
And Ohtani when he plays Daz Cam. I mean, yeah, the lineup's still great, but Bryce Harper was special last year. And the Dodgers are a really good team. You still have Juan Soto's every bit as good as nearly any player in the league. Can he raise his batting average to meet his on base percentage? Bringing in Alex Kirilloff, does his position in a lineup that maybe has a little more protection in LA than Kansas City see a rise in his level of play? Javier Garcia was a 300 plus hitter last year. Jose Abreu was a fantastic addition from Houston last offseason. But adding Danny Holtzen in the National League, and you don't have to worry about him having to hit and be pulled early because of the addition of the designated hitter. The back of the bullpen, I think, is maybe a little more clear in LA than it is in Arizona with more Fulmer and Glass now. Whereas Arizona brings in Matt Navarez from LA, where he did not close for the Angels last year. So how does he fit back in the ninth inning? Matt Manning was a bit up and down at times. Juan Ibarra was good. I just give I have this slight edge, I think, in LA over Arizona as of today.
Do you think that some of LA's hitters overperformed last year, and can they keep that up on the 2023?
The Dodgers last season were third in team batting average, second in on base percentage, third in runs scored. They've added. Sorry, getting a call. Let me decline that. Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. They might have overperformed in some regard, like a Javier Garcia a little bit. Maybe someone like Jurickson Profar isn't special anymore, hitting 230 last year, 244 in 2021, 230 the year before. So the lineup isn't as good as Arizona. It's not. You raise a good point.
It's one of those pitching versus hitter, right? LA has probably a little bit better pitching. Arizona has the better hitters overall.
Yeah, it'll be as you said to start when you first brought up the division. It'll be a fun battle between the two, with Colorado not too far behind.
Yeah, I was going to mention them now and say, how far back are they? They have some good arms. They have a good lineup. Not quite as good as the other two, but not too far off either.
89 game winner last year. That came with a 9-17 month of July and 11-15 month in June. So they played June and July at 20 and 30, 12 games under. So they were what? Quick math, 21. No, hold on. Can't do math that quick. They were 12 games under those 2 months. They finished six. So they played all the other months 28 games over 500. Losing McCauley, losing Moore, both traded from Colorado, leaves questions in the Colorado bullpen. And to your point, they have some good pitching in Pineda and Bauer, and Gratterall had a good year. Dunham had a good year. Scott Milligan coming over from Toronto in the Kershaw trade. So Kershaw's gone, McCauley's gone, Moore's gone. Those are the three big pieces that were in Colorado at some point last year, no longer there. Big deal. The lineup they've added, Cam Gallagher was a big free agent spending addition. Still have Correa. There's someone else missing that I can't put my fingers on in Colorado. But when you have two teams that won 100 games last year, it's going to be tough to catch them, even if they regress. Again, if Arizona regresses without Bryce Harper, I think they will. They're still they regress to 95 wins. That's only a 6-win improvement for Colorado.
Yeah, and is 95 wins enough to win the West?
It'll be close. The team to me that I think heading into the year that has to be better than they were last year based on some of the pieces they have for the Padres. The Padres won 69 games last year with pitching that on paper should be better than it is. I think everyone in the league still bothers Sean about Michael Matula. Dalton Jeffries had a good year. But 3, 4, and 5 are better than what they performed. I still like Kevin Nicholas. I think Gilbert Cepeda is a really good young arm. Dan Jeffries probably shouldn't be in the rotation, but you replace him with someone like Shane McClanahan, who could be in the rotation. And if you had Matula, Jeffries, Nicholas, Cepeda, and McClanahan, that's a 1 through 5 that's pretty darn good. And this comes despite the fact that last year their team ERA was 10 and their starter ERA was 11, and they couldn't hit.
Yeah, and then we have the Giants who are making improvements.
The Giants so far this offseason, they've added Cedric Rutherford. You bring in Steven Matz, bolster the bullpen with Lamont. Vallette, can he come back? You didn't really lose anything up beyond Jason Hayward. They're not going to be as bad as they were last year. They will not be as bad as they were last year.
So how do you see – go ahead. Finish up.
No, they won't be as bad, kind of like the Pirates. They're not going to be as bad as they were last year. But they were so bad last year that even in a sizable improvement this year, they're still going to be sub 500, the Giants. I mean, well below 500 still, but better. How do I see the division as of today?
Yeah.
So when you first asked me about the division 10 minutes ago or wherever it was, I was convinced that the Dodgers were number one. Now that we've been talking about the division for a handful of minutes, I think I've maybe decided that, you know what, Arizona is still the team to beat, with some of the question marks maybe about the Dodgers lineup. So I'm going to go Arizona 1, LA 2, Colorado. Same as last year. Arizona, LA, Colorado, San Francisco.
Okay, now the big question for the National League. Who wins it?
I can't say no to the Atlanta Braves.
You're on the Braves bandwagon.
And again, I think it's a big if, as we mentioned when we were talking about this division, if Brenton shows patience. And that can be a big
history. Yeah, as we know by history. So we'll see. Maybe he's getting better now. Maybe with age, Patience comes. So, okay, so you've picked Houston and Atlanta to win their leagues. Is this telling me that you think Houston is the team to beat?
Houston's the team to beat. I think they're the team to beat, and it just all goes back to they have it on paper, and they have the willingness to make the moves, and I think they have the pieces to make the moves. We heard the other day Atlanta was concerned about their farm system. Does that mean they don't have the moves? And you brought up the financials. Are they tied financially to bringing in moves during the season? Not to mention what the American League's won every year. So it's hard to pick against the American League. So as of today, but a couple of weeks before spring training, the Houston Astros are my favorite and my pick to win the MLBPRO 2023 World Series.
All right, so maybe we'll flip back up again towards right before the beginning of the season, and we'll see how our minds might have changed between now and then.
They'll change, and then I look forward to hearing to you discuss with individual teams and getting a better perspective on what general managers see about what they have, what they might do, what we missed. Because I'm glad you invited me on, but this came not with a short notice, but without the preparation that maybe was normally put in by my end.
And that's
So
okay.
it's good
A lot
to
of
talk.
this off the cuff is good. I like it off the cuff a little bit better.
So it's good, but I know we're missing stuff. I know I'm missing stuff. So yeah, I look forward to hearing what everyone else has to say, and I look forward to linking back up with you and having a better understanding of the league as a whole and seeing where teams stand come closer to opening day.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time, Mr. Anonymous GM, and all your hard work that you put into the league and all the scoops you break.
So yeah, so let me finish with that. I want to thank everyone for the off season. We all need the break. Every one of us needs it. But I know deals are going to start happening again. So this is just your reminder that you can find me on Slack at AnonymousGM. When it comes to rumors, when it comes to dealings, let me know what you might be up to. Let's get the rumor mill back up and running, and I look forward to dealing with everyone throughout the season.
Cool. And we're looking forward to a wonderful 2023. It's always great, and maybe somebody's going to surprise us this year.
Someone will.
So, all right. Well, we appreciate your time, and we'll catch up with you a little bit later, Anonymous GM.
Thank you.
Thank you.